Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to be here today with my friend Jocey Wiitanen. I'm just calling her Jocey, just so you know from now on. So she's like the Beyonce, like the Madonna, like she's just Jocey.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to have you just talk and like breathe life into my audience today. So I want to just talk a little bit about you and then we will dive right in. So Jocey is a holistic beauty coach. She's a podcaster. She's a rocking podcaster. I'm just adding that word in. And she's on a mission to help women feel safety within themselves and to bring their sexy back. I love it. Oh my gosh, Jocey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I love the rocking podcaster.
Well, I mean, yeah, duh. It's so true. But I would love to dive in like to your story and like that little snippet in there about safety in themselves. Like where did that come from? Why is that word so important to you to have in there for women to feel that safety?
For the longest time, that's a beautiful question. For the longest time growing up, I didn't feel safe in my body. I didn't know that I was so disconnected from my body, but I was so disconnected from my body. And I was just running through life, kind of like an autopilot, just in the doing and going. And I would get to my one goal, next goal, get to the goal, next goal. And I never really was in here. And so when I went through my journey of reconnecting with myself and doing the embodiment practices through somatics, which is working with the soma, working with the body, that's when I noticed how numb I was. Like there was places in my body that I couldn't even feel, that didn't even have sensation. And by slowly starting to like feel safe to like start to explore those sensations and ask the questions, I was starting to feel safe in my body again. And that has been like the catalyst to my spiritual growth, the catalyst to not running away from my problems anymore, the catalyst to fully presence in my life. So it's huge. Like that safety within myself is huge, huge, huge.
And so how did that journey begin for you? Like, where did you start? Like, was that like yoga? Like, is that breath work? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that embodiment work? Because I think so many women will probably need to hear that, like something that might work for them. Obviously, this isn't like a prescription. We're not writing out a prescription for you, but we want to give you tools. And so I just wanted to hear, like, what does that mean for you? Like, what was that embodiment for you?
Yeah. So the embodiment practices were just like being present to my breath, being present to the sensations I'm feeling on my body, like just being like enough to just close my eyes and like drop in to like my internal landscape. Like that was like something that I'd never even done before. And so through my coaching certification, through like the somatics and learning about how the soma works, I thought I was taking this course for like help my people, right? I'm going to help my people. But on this journey of like taking this somatic embodiment course, what I did was learn like how to drop in. And it's that sensation, feeling the sensation. It's that connection with yourself. And it's that gentleness with yourself. It's like, I keep saying I'm coming home to myself. It's just that.
Yeah. Why do you think like so many women like don't even know who they are? Like, where does that even come from? Of not being able to even feel sensations. You said like in your body, like where does that come from? Why do we do that to ourselves?
It comes from the beginning of time, like from the moment that we come into the world. We have our parents and they're so well-meaning, so loving, but they're telling us what to do. They're telling us how to feel. They're telling us, for me, like, stop crying, like, be strong. You're the oldest. You're the example. Like, be this, be that. And so that was my role. I was the example. I was the oldest. I wanted to be obedient to my parents and what they said. And then there's society at a whole doing the same thing, telling us to be a certain way, be humble, be meek, be sweet, right? They're telling us all these things. And so then again, we're like, for me, it was like people pleasing and ship shifting. Like, where do I fit in? And how can I like belong? And that was a way for me to totally disconnect with my body as well, to fit in. And so it was just the programming. And so I call it's an unlearning and putting in the things that we want into our bodies, putting in that safety for ourselves and being our own cheerleader and having our own back, because that's really what the embodiment practice is. It's just like knowing to my core that no matter what, I have my own back. And that allows me to start to feel safe, because I know that even though it might not always feel good, I will be there to like pick myself up. And I can always count on myself. And that is the big thing that I'm always telling my clients is like, clap for yourself and like have your own back, be gentle with yourself. It almost has to be like a mantra, like gentle, like be gentle with yourself, be compassionate with yourself, be loving with yourself. And it's not something that we're taught in the outside world. So we have to do it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So much, because, you know, we always are a cheerleader for everyone else, right? We're always a cheerleader for everyone else. And then we could do something and we don't even notice it, right? You get a goal and you're like, yeah, okay, move on next. You know, we don't do that enough for ourselves. And it's such an issue, you know, of not being able, we look at the negative things that we do and, you know, we harp on those things, but the great things that we do, or even the minute things that we do, you know, especially as a mom, and, you know, and you have a little one, you know, for me, when I had a little one at home, it was like, oh my God, I got a shower today. Like, it was like a running joke with like the moms. It was like, I was able to get a shower while my child was taking a nap. And that was like the biggest win, like 2 claps, you know, like high 10, you know, for those things. But it's as we get older, and like you said, society, we don't do that enough for ourselves on those little things that other people just look over. But like, that's a win for us. Like, how do you recommend people do that? Like, how do people cheer for themselves? Like you said, the mantras, but like, do you have like tips on like, here's like some steps, or here's some things that have worked for me that might work for you? Let's recognize those things, right?
Yes, it starts with making a list of your wins. Like, just start with that. Just get your piece of paper out and list out whatever comes to mind of all the wins, and just sit there for a second and look at it. And like, look at all the wins that you've had up to the point that you're at in your life. Because so, like you said, so often we'll look at all our things and all our negatives and all the things that aren't working, and we will like harp on it, like you were saying, but we don't ever make lists of, like, if I were to ask, like, make top 10 lists of the things that you're most proud of. Like, our minds have to think so hard. We have to dig so deep to like clap for ourselves. So if you could even just make a list of like 10 things, like give yourself that time, light a candle, turn on some music, write it out. You'd be so amazed by just that one little simple exercise of all you've accomplished so far.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. I was working with a business coach, and, you know, she's like, okay, let's talk about the things that you've done. And it's like, you forget, oh my God, I birthed children. Like, my body actually grew a thing. It wasn't even a human at that point, like a thing, an egg, like, and then it took it and it grew ears and a nose and a mouth. And then it learned how to like grow. And like, what the heck? Like, I am magic. Like, my body is magical. And like, even that thing, like, mothers like dismiss it. It's like, you, not any man, like a woman, like, you did this in your body without even knowing you were doing it. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to work at it. It just naturally happened because your body is innate to know how to grow a human. And you did that because that's like, it's amazing. And so even like those things, it's like, oh my God, that's right. I did that. And my feet, they carried me like through all of the things that I've done. They've carried me in life. They've helped me run a marathon, like whatever it is. It's like those little things that we just brush over every day.
And even our down moments, like even the things that about ourselves that we don't necessarily love. Like for me, it was like the people pleasing. I was a shifter. I wanted to belong. I wanted to fit in, and being the only Black girl from like junior high until 11th grade, like I didn't look like everybody else. So I didn't feel like I fit in. And so I did feel like I had to like shift to like blend in and belong. And so for me, I'd always look at that as like a negative thing. And I've always like it's not a good thing. But now I'm looking at it like, I've been able to make friends with so many different people. I've been able to interact with so many different people and have different circles of influence because of my doing my people pleasing. And so looking at the ways that what we did to serve us at certain periods of time benefited us is even, I mean, that's even a powerful exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So do you mind like sharing that? Like you just shared, I feel like a ton there we could like pull apart, but like just growing up in middle school and trying to fit in and shape shifting, because and you shared, if you were the only Black girl that was there, like how did that happen for you? Like how did that play a role in like you becoming who you are now? Like would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
that journey?
Yeah, that journey was not an easy one, because not only was I the only Black girl growing up from elementary to junior high to 11th grade in high school, I didn't speak the language either when I started first grade. So I didn't know any English. And so now, and then my parents would let me wear jeans to school for the longest time. It was like dresses, girls wear dresses. And so all of that was like, I was born to stand out, but all my little self, all my young Jocey wanted to do was fit in, right? And belong. Yeah. And so I would do like, it's the thing where you look back on that and you're like, how did that little person even do it? Like, how did that little person even do it? Because I would just go to school and like, just put the charm on, put that happy face on and be that light, be like, nothing is wrong. Everything is happy. And what I found is that the happier I was, the more people were gravitating towards me, the more friends I was making. And so then it was like that's where I adopted the fake it till you make it. So like, that was my mantra growing up. And it didn't matter what was going on. It didn't matter how I felt. I just was the happy girl. And everybody was like, okay, she's the happy person. She's the one you go to like get some of that good feeling juice. And so for the longest time, I would put all the feelings I had down, and I just didn't give myself permission to feel sad. I didn't give myself permission to be angry, especially in public. It was like that good face, like put on that good face, that mask on, that happiness that wasn't always happy, you know? And so that's how it showed up for me. And it showed up for me for years. It wasn't until I started doing kind of like the inner child work and Made to Do This in 2020, a course that I took, that I started to be like, oh my gosh, my feelings are actually gifts. Like, I'm allowed to bring my feelings to the table.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Because I think, and especially you said, so people were gravitating, you were getting reinforced for being happy. So you were making new friends because you were happy. So, that's obviously you were craving that friendship and fitting in. And I love how you said you were almost made to stand out. That's such an interesting reflection, because I look at it like I want to stand out. I don't know if you look at it like that now. Like, it's a good thing to stand out. Like, I don't want to blend in. Like, I want my voice to be heard. Like, I want people to hear me. I want people to look at me. And so it's so interesting. Do you find that now? So like, okay, you were meant to stand out there, but like you were maybe standing out for all the wrong reasons. But have you found that that's shifted, or like, are you, like your mentality potentially?
Oh yeah, 100, like a complete 360, 180, however you want to look at it. Like I was saying, yeah, it felt like back then, everything about me was like, this is the new girl. She doesn't speak English. She's Haitian. She's Black. Like, all the different things about me. And everybody kept saying like, you're so lucky, like growing up, you're so lucky, you're so different, you're so lucky, you're so unique. Like, and I didn't take that as a positive at all. Yeah. But as I've done the healing work and as I've like stepped into who I am and I love and adore this person that I have built, I love the fact that I'm different. I love that I change my hair every couple months. I love that I am who I am now, but that wasn't always the case. Like, I definitely had to like peel back that layers and look into the depth of my soul and give myself permission to be who I am, feel who I am, and basically a remembering of whose I am even. Yeah. Like, it's been an incredible journey, but yeah, now I'm fully embracing all of it.
Did that start like before you were a mom or after like that? Like, was it a rock bottom for you when you decided to start that like healing process? Or was it just something that, like you said, like, oh, I was taking a course and I thought it was going to be for my students, and then it really benefited me? Like, how did that start for you? Because I think it's always interesting to me to find out, like, you know, especially with listeners listening, like, do I have
Mhm.
to be at my rock bottom? Like, you know, this is where, how I'm feeling. And this is, you know, something that maybe could help me as well. How did
Mhm.
that start for you?
So I feel like I've always been on a journey for self-discovery, self-healing by like reading the books and by just the line of work that I'm in. So before becoming a coach, I was a cosmetologist, which is why I call myself a holistic coach, because I work with the whole being now, not just the hair and making people beautiful from the outside, but actually going in. And so with that question of how my journey started was, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah. So where were you? Yeah. Why did your journey start, you know, to
Oh
even
yeah,
look
so
into it?
yes, absolutely. So I was just looking for answers, and I just was always curious and always a learner of reading books, and from reading the books, then putting them into practice. And but it wasn't really until this is another big story, until I like left the country on my own and went on this journey to Southeast Asia by myself, not knowing a soul, that I was like able to discover, like, what is it that I want in this life? Who is it that I am? And why is it that I'm always running away? Why is it that I'm always starting everything? Like, I'm always starting new beginnings. Like, why do I crave this? So I started asking myself these questions and start peeling back these layers on this journey in Southeast Asia. And I was gone for 5 months. And that was like a whole awakening for me, because I was able to like be apart from all the things that made me who I thought made me who I was, right? Like my friends, my family, my parents, like all of that. And it was just me. And I got to introduce myself as, I'm like, this is just me. Like there was no preconceived, like, I know you from this, I know you from that. Like it was
Yeah.
just such an experience. And so for me, that's when the big journey, like the big shifts started happening. But the journey of trying to like discover who I am and know there has to be a different way was from a young age.
Yeah. That's so, so what took you to Southeast Asia? Like, was it a mission trip? Like, what, I'm like, was it just like, I'm going on a vacation? Like, I'm just got a backpack and I'm just living in some hostels? Like, girl, how did you get there? Like, what were you doing in Southeast Asia
Southeast
for 5 months?
Asia. Yeah. So I am like, I say travel is my love language. So I love traveling. And so me and my husband, before that, we used to travel together and take these trips together. And so whenever I came up with a whim of a crazy, like, let's go on this trip, like he would always jump on board. And so for some reason, Indonesia started like popping up on my radar. Like it was everywhere. And so I was like, we're going to Indonesia. I told my husband, like, we're going to Bali. And he was like, no, we're not. And I'm like, yes, we're going. Like and then like within a couple of weeks, a plane ticket that I found super cheap. And I was like, I bought it thinking that if I buy my plane ticket, my husband will buy his plane ticket.
Yeah.
Cause that's kind of how it's always worked. I'm like the little person who like, little voice in his ear saying like, let's do this, let's do that. And he will eventually jump on board. But this time he did not jump on board.
Wow.
So he was planning to propose at that time. And so he didn't think he could afford to take this trip. And so then I started planning it for one. And he didn't think I was going to do it. I almost didn't think I was going to do it because it was just such like something I'd never done before.
Right.
But yeah, so that I ended up going to Southeast Asia and ended up, like you said, living in hostels, working in hostels, like doing yoga, meditating, just like being completely, like I'm saying, wild and free. Like it was like my eat, pray, love.
Yeah. And so you guys weren't even engaged then, right?
No,
But he was
yeah.
going to, so he had to wait until you came back to propose to you.
He proposed before I left.
Oh my gosh.
And I think in his heart, he was thinking, okay, if I propose, she's not going to go.
Yeah, she'll stay.
Oh, there's a part of me that when I reflect back on that trip, I was calling it my eat, pray, love, but it was almost like a running away from like my life at the time, because me and my husband, we moved to Texas and I had started a job and he was working away. And so I didn't know anyone, right? I was in this new city, didn't know anyone, working this job alone. And so it was just like a way to like escape my life in a way.
Yeah.
I didn't, when I took that trip, it wasn't like the let's go on vacation trip. It was like, how far away can I get from like feeling these feelings of discomfort?
Yeah.
In hindsight.
Yeah. And so what were you running from? Like, I keep thinking of the Julia Roberts movie. I don't know if you ever saw it, The Runaway Bride. You keep talking about running away and then he proposed and you're like, I'm out of here, Bella. So it just makes me think of the Julia Roberts movie. Like, I don't know why that's so funny, but you keep saying that. Like, so did you discover like what you were running away from? Like when you peel the layers away, like did you figure it out?
Oh yeah. So that was the way I coped with anytime I felt discomfort in a relationship, a friendship, an argument. That was the way I cope. I just ran away. I would just take myself physically away from whatever was causing me discomfort. And at that time, it was just being alone, away from my friends and family, not knowing what I was going to do with my life, feeling like I wasn't living a fulfilled life. And then once you're running away for so long, eventually it catches up to you. Those emotions that you keep pushing down eventually will catch up to you. What I learned, it didn't matter where trips I took or where I went, how beautiful it was. I was always left with myself and those feelings of discomfort, of like self-loathing, of not accepting who I was and who I am, and not knowing who I was and who I am. And going through life on autopilot. That was what I was doing. I was creating a life, but I wasn't consciously creating it at that point. And so the thought of even getting married, with that thought of like, who am I even to be getting married?
Yeah.
I waited so long to even get married, just because it was like, there was so much fear there, because if you don't know yourself and you take that into a marriage, not just a relationship, then it just felt too much.
When I think sometimes, people think, oh, we're going to get married and it's going to solve a problem. Or when you have kids, oh, this will solve my marriage. It's getting ready to fall apart. So sometimes people think of like, oh, I'll get married and that's like the solution. And then they're still putting something that they need to work on, like beside themselves, because they think this is going to actually solve the problem, but it's not. So I think that you still went and you discovered who you were before you got married, I think is super smart. And I'm glad that you did that, because who knows, like if you hadn't and you stayed, like if maybe your marriage wouldn't have lasted, because maybe you would have then ran after a year because you're like, I don't even know who I am, or I'm just saying, obviously, but I'm just wondering like if that would have been different. So I'm so glad that you did go and discover, who you are. And then so you guys got married, and then how long after you got married did you have your son?
Yeah, so we got married within, what was it? It was like 2 or 3 months after me getting back from that trip. We got married. From there, then moved again to middle of nowhere, North Dakota.
Now where are you?
Now I'm middle of nowhere, North Dakota, and Williston, and like this town where it's like all oil and gas town, and the people there were beautiful, and it was a growing journey, but that's where I hit my rock bottom. That was where like the rebuilding really started, because I was just now even worse. Like not only am I like in the middle of nowhere, but I just got back from this trip. I just got married, and what was supposed to be like the most exciting, like happy time was just like, now what? Yeah. Now what am I doing? And so we lived in North Dakota, and I went through like that dark night of the soul, some might call it, because I had a panic attack that I'd never had before. And so that led me to start meditating and praying again, and starting to ask myself those questions again about like, what is it that brings me joy? What is important to me? Like, what matters to me? Like, how can I bring that peace, that inner peace that I felt on that journey? How can I bring that into my life now? And that's when I stopped doing hair and went into learning how to be a coach. And by learning how to be a coach, you can't help but apply all those tools onto yourself. And for the longest time, I didn't even think I wanted kids. There was a part of me that wanted kids, but there was a part of me that was afraid, like fearful. And so I took actually a hypnotherapy was what helped me break that block of actually being able to like say, okay, it's safe for me now to have a kid. Like it's safe. Like the kid doesn't have to have the same childhood that I had. Because that was the fear behind it. Was like my childhood was so traumatic. Like I don't want to bring a kid into this world and have that kid live this traumatic life. And through that healing process, I was like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Like I can take the lessons, I could do it differently. And so which is a crazy thing to say, like gives me goosebumps just thinking it. Within like 2 weeks of that hypnotherapy session, I found out that I was pregnant. Like it was so mind-blowing. It was like in that hypnotherapy session, I remember saying like, it's safe now for me to have a child. Like I'm ready, like that baby can come. And I could cry. It's just thinking of it.
It's so beautiful.
Because like the moment that mind shifted, I was literally pregnant with a kid. And so me and my husband were married for 2 years before we got pregnant with Everett. And that itself has been like an expansion of like love and like amazingness that I didn't know I was going to feel for this little person.
Right. Especially because you didn't think that you were going to have kids because you didn't feel safe as a child, and thinking that, okay, well, the stories of this is how a family is, or maybe those things would happen, when you were a mom, to be able to work through that and then to basically be pregnant, kind of right away is really a miracle. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a blessing. It is a blessing.
Yeah. So then I love, you talk so much about when, you had your son, so you had Everett, and then how things shifted for you because, Jocey and I met because we're in a podcasting group together, and the name of her podcast really struck me because my word of the year is joy. Because the last year and a half, 2 years, I have not been living in as much joy because of everything going on. And, I don't want to make excuses for that, because, there are things that I can control myself. But, for me, I knew that if I have joy in all areas of my life, so with my family and my relationships and my businesses, this podcast, then so much more abundance comes into my life in all areas. So how did you come up with that name? Like, what does joy mean to you? Because as a mom, I think sometimes we can take the joy out of being a mom because it's all the things that we have to do. So what does that mean to you?
So joy and fun for me go hand in hand. So I feel like you can't have one without the other. You have to have fun while being joyful and joyous. And so when I became a mom, so like I said, my love language is travel. My language is just having adventure and like living a life to the fullest. That's like my mantra. And so, but when I became a mom, I like did this like switch in my mind of like, I'm a mom now. I'm going to put on this ponytail. I'm going to put my nose to the ground and I'm just going to be a mom. And it's going to be hard for 18 years. This is it. I'm a mom. And I hadn't been going outside. I hadn't been listening to the music that I normally listen to. Like I wasn't like meditating. I just was putting myself like immediately in the back burner. Like the moment I became a mom, it was just like all these tools, all these things. Yeah.
Like that. It just happens. No one told you to. You just automatically like you're a robot. Like something switched at birth, and you're like, now you're a mom. This is how you act.
Mind blowing. And my coach at the time, Gail, said, like, when was the last time you went outside? Like just outside. And I'd realized I hadn't gone outside the whole time ever was born.
Oh my God.
And so I started going on walks and started being in nature and started like allowing him to come with us to the restaurant. I started taking him places like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this can be fun. And he started like lighting up and seeing nature through his eyes, like going on these hikes and these day trips through his eyes, even such a young age.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, make life fun. She just said, just keep having fun. And I said, I'm going to keep having fun. And so then the name of the podcast, I mean, when I went and took the course, that just was an easy, like, make life fun. Because the moment I made that switch in my mind that I'm a fun mom, I'm going to make life fun, I looked for more opportunities to have fun and make life exciting and joyful. And yeah, that's how the name of the podcast came about. And that's how the podcast now, we're talking all about self-acceptance, because I feel like accepting yourself and where you are is how you can step into that joy, how you can step into the fun. You just do the best you can with where you are. Like, this is the stepping stone. You can't get to where you're going until you accept fully and completely, with so much grace and compassion and forgiveness, where you are right now. And so on the podcast, that's what most of the talk with moms is about, like loving yourself, accepting yourself, and then from there cultivating that joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you talk about like joy and looking for joy and having fun and those kinds of things, I think it would be really helpful, because sometimes so right now, like, as I'm recording this, like I have a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, and then I have a 28-year-old stepson. So like all boys. So, putting the mom hat on, I am the Uber driver. I'm the event planner. I'm the chef. I am the maid, I'm the laundry person. Like, I wear all of these hats. And so fun is at the bottom. Like, that's the last thing sometimes that I think about, because all this other stuff has to get done or else we're not going to survive. How do you look to have more fun? Like, I would love if you have any advice or tip on that, because I do believe that is like, I think I'm not the fun one. Like, my husband has the fun. I'm the enforcer, and I don't want that role. Like, I would cry about it, because I'm like, I want to have more fun. Like, I want to be doing that, but all this other stuff has to get done. How do you switch that? How do you help people move through that?
First thing first is you have to put fun on the top of your list. It cannot be on the bottom. You have to consciously decide. Fun is like you said, joy is your word of the year. Like, joy is the top of your list. So then you look to incorporate that joy, that fun in everything that you're doing. And that for me is music. So whatever I'm doing, I am putting music on. I'm putting music on to do the dishes. I'm putting music on to do laundry. I am stopping and having dance parties. I am like high-fiving myself in the mirror. So I'm walking past the mirror with my son. Like, I'm just looking for different ways to have fun. Like, I am like telling dumb jokes with my husband. like just finding ways to just, like, the moment I think you make that decision that I'm going to be a fun mom, I'm choosing fun, then you start to invite that in, and then it almost becomes like second nature to find fun, even amidst the harder parts of life. Because not every day is fun and not every moment is fun. But when you try to infuse it with just a little bit of that fun, then you can't help but see more of that. And I so completely, like when you were speaking of the mom with the different hats and like being the Uber driver, being the caretaker, like everything is on the mom. That is so true. And that's so true for a lot of moms. And that's true for me too, especially with my husband working. He works away and I'm here with Everett. But I think the identity we give ourselves matter. So if we always say like, I'm the enforcer, then that's who you are. That's the identity that you're going to take on. And so if you say, I'm fun, like I'm fun no matter what. Yeah. Then that's the identity that you take on. I'm joyful. I'm joy. Like that's my identity for no matter what I'm doing. Then you start to embody, you start to take on that identity that you give to yourself, because words, I think, are the most important things. Yeah. Like the words that we put in our minds, the words that we put out for ourselves to see. I mean, the stuff that we allow into our bodies. And so that's why music is so huge for me, because it's just like the music that uplifts my soul and my spirit and like speaks to me, even if I don't know the words, like they speak to my soul in a deeper way. And so just change that. Change the identity of what you want to become and start saying it now. It doesn't have to be till when that happens. It can be like the moment you just say, I decide. I decide.
Yeah, I write. So in my journal, I write, I'm a funtastic. I don't know. I like funtastic. I just think it's silly.
like
So I'm a
fantastic.
fantastic mom. But then for the joy, like joy runs through every cell of my body.
Mhm.
Like, and so it's just like writing those and thinking them and feeling them on my vision board. Like that's on my
Mhm.
vision board, like fantastic. I found that word, like joyful, like those things. It's like surround yourself, because I do
Mhm.
think that, as you said, like words are so powerful. So what
Mhm.
we as women, what, I don't know what word I was going to make up there. I was going to make up a word, but I don't know. But us as women and moms, especially, like it's so important, because things can get so heavy with all the
Mhm.
roles that we feel like we have to always be doing, that are
Mhm.
put on us, we feel. But making fun, I think, and it
Mhm.
doesn't always have to be money, right? Like if
Mhm.
you think, oh, we have to go spend money to have fun, like we have to go bowling, we have to go skating, we have to go to the movies. It's like, no, you can have fun, like just put music on,
Mhm.
have a dance party in your house,
Yes.
like play some games, play charades, like
Mm.
play Pictionary, like whatever, play, karaoke, like whatever you want to do, like make
Whatever.
fun, and like cooking. But like
Mhm.
you can have fun with your kids, like
Mhm.
it's little, but like my kids are older, and teenagers, not sure, but
TikTok,
like
right?
have fun. Would you say?
TikTok, that's their fun. That's their love language right now.
Basically, yes, you're correct, ma'am. But yeah, so I think that is another, farce that we have to get rid of too, is that in order to have fun, I have to spend money, because
Mhm.
you don't have to go and spend money to have fun. You can create your own fun.
Mhm. Especially with the world the way it is right now. Like the world the way it is right now, it's almost like in some places people still aren't going out. Like and being able to even spend money to have fun. So you have to like start to get creative and find those different things that could be fun in your home, and start to like even think back to when you were a kid, like thinking of the little things that you like to do. Like one of my clients was like, I used to love to draw. I used to love to paint, and I haven't done that in years. And I'm like, well, get a piece of paper and like start drawing, start painting, like
Right.
start doing the things that you enjoy doing as a kid. And just even being creative starts to open you up in a way.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. So we have gone like all over the place. I love it. Is there anything you feel like that you like haven't shared with the listeners, or like the moms of the world that are listening, that you just feel is on your heart, something
Mhm.
that you need to get off your chest?
Mhm. Yes, yes. I love our conversation. I thought it was, oh, it's just crazy to relive those moments in my life as I'm telling the story of
Yeah.
reliving them. So thank you for that. On my heart right now to share is for moms, especially moms, like give themselves the grace and compassion and the love and care that you need, because we wear so many hats and we have to show up and be a certain way for like the people in our lives and our families. But if we can take a moment, even every day, just even 5 minutes, to be like, what is it I can reward myself with? Could it be like a cup of coffee, a cup of tea? Could it be just like one song, like going outside for a fresh air, calling your best friend, like just anything that just is going to put a smile on your face? Just do that for you today. Like do it for you every day. Like give yourself that 5 minutes, like to like love on you. Like
Yeah.
that is what's on my heart, is because we go, and we're on autopilot, so many things to do. And we have to like pause and intentionally like make it a hard, like this has to be done. I need 5 minutes where I am giving myself something that makes me feel good.
Yeah. I think it's so important, because, we do put ourselves last, all
Mhm.
the time. It's just No one tells us to do it. It's just how we think it's supposed to be, or just what we've seen. And so we put ourselves last. And so, that is, I think, powerful to say, like, you have to put yourself first, because if you don't, nobody else is going to. And then you're showing other people how to treat you, because you aren't even doing anything for yourself. So why should anyone do anything for you? Or then you resist when people try to help you, because you're not used to helping yourself. So I think that's really powerful.
Yep, it definitely starts with us. All of it starts with us.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, last question for you, my friend. This is how I love to end the podcast. So we as women, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we are so ingrained to celebrate other women and high five other women. And, we don't do that enough for ourselves. So I want to know, Jocey, what is something that you just love about yourself right now?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that. That's your question for the end of the podcast. What I love about myself right now is my tenacity. Like, I love that I show up. I love that I keep showing up. And it doesn't matter, like, if I get knocked down or if I'm not feeling it. Like, I am my own cheerleader. I am my own hype woman. And I love that about myself. And that is, what I'm loving about myself is that I just keep showing up, and I'm tenacious, and I'm so eager to, like, encourage and lift people up and pour my love from the overflow. Like, I love me.
Oh, that's beautiful. And like, your whole voice changed. Like, you were like tenacious, it was like, you're like fighter in like a boxing ring or something. You're like, yeah, this is what I love. Like, I'm knocking all those things down. It's beautiful. People are going to want to find you, Jocey. So can you tell people where to find you and your podcast? Because they're going to want to definitely, stay in touch with you.
Yeah, so Make Life Fun podcast, especially for mamas. If you are looking for your soul family, like, that is what I'm cultivating. That is what I'm creating with Make Life Fun, is a tribe of moms and women that are being unapologetically loving themselves and pouring that love from the overflow. Like, that is what my soul family, that's what I'm calling in. And right now, I'm just having fun on Instagram, posting dance videos and pictures of me and my son. And so come follow me, just Jocey Wiitanen, at Jocey Wiitanen on Instagram.
Cool. And I'll make sure I put that in the show notes too, so that people can definitely find you and follow your podcast and stuff too. It's great. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, I love what you're doing, and I am so stoked to be here.
Oh, thanks so much. All right. See you later, girl.